the best of the week on Relevant Radio.
How about Alex in Austin? Good morning, Alex.
I'm calling because I'm new to the faith, and I've been listening to your show for about 3 or 4 months now. I completely cut out FM radio. I'm just hooked on Relevant Radio, particularly your show. I picked up the Bible. I've been reading it from the beginning. I read Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, and I just finished Numbers. And it's been very eye-opening. I haven't gotten to the New Testament. I intend on reading it cover to cover. I'd like to tell you that everything you do is really great, and all the advice you give helps the person that you're telling it to, but it also helps a lot of people, including myself. I was afflicted with drug addiction for 10 years, but I've been sober now for 7. And I was also afflicted with sex addiction. I've been sober from pornography for 146 days. And
wonderful.
Thank you. Strange as it may seem, that's actually a lot harder than I thought it would be. It really makes the drug addiction seem like nothing. I mean, you can just snap your fingers and you're done with it. But lust is a different story.
Now, I'm curious, Alex, how or what was your plan of attack to start eliminating these addictions from your life? How did you go about doing that? How are you doing it now, day to day?
With the drug addiction, it was a lifestyle that had to change. It coalesced into a situation that all came forward in one day and made me realize I needed to stop this. And so I was able to quit just one day to the next.
Do you mind if I ask what the drug was, or was it multiple drugs?
It was heroin. I was addicted to heroin for 10 years.
Oh, my gosh.
It was a very difficult lifestyle, very stressful, and a lot of anxiety, and I was very far from God. I still feel as though I'm far from God. I get closer to him every day.
You're like the prodigal son, Alex. You found that living behind the dumpster in squalor and filth with no money and no food isn't really very fun. And you're coming back to the house of the Father, right?
That's right. Yeah, and that's actually pretty accurate. I was pretty close to homeless, I was homeless, sleeping with friends on friends' couches. Now I have a house here in Austin, Texas. I have a beautiful wife who's stuck with me through all of this, and 2 wonderful children, a 1-year-old daughter and 5-year-old boy.
God bless your wife. So this was happening while you were married.
Right. We've actually only been married for 2 years. Now it'll be 2 years in March. We were engaged the entire time before, and I was engaging in drug use and infidelity and pornography.
How did you get off the porn and all that stuff? And be discreet, because children listen to this program.
Absolutely. I want to start by saying pornography is the most dangerous drug for your mind. I did heroin for 10 years. I did pornography since I was a 13-year-old child. I'm 35 now, so you can do the math. Pornography, I did.
How old were you when you first were exposed to porn, Alex? Sorry for my interruption.
No problem. I'm in a program called Sex Addicts Anonymous, and it's a 12-step program like Alcoholics Anonymous. And my first step, I went through all of this, and I just completed it. It was really revolutionary. When I first started, I was about 6 years old when I was exposed to any kind of explicit material, and it came in the form of a magazine, a Sears catalog for women's lingerie. And from there, it catapulted itself into full-on video images that I was finding. MPEGs you had to download back in those days on computers. And today it's in everyone's pocket, incognito. It's very easy to do. And the danger of it is it wires your brain in such a fashion that you become engulfed with this fallacy of entitlement, that you are entitled to lust. You're entitled to your privacy of what you want to do with your lust. And it's a fallacy, and it's very dangerous because it consumes a lot of your time, and 2, it pushes away everyone around you and alienates them because you are engulfed in this entitlement that you feel no one else, especially your spouse and children, have any say in.
Yes. And 2, I don't mean to pry in, naturally, this is your private business, but for the benefit of people listening, to what extent do you think you're able to conceal this from your fiance and then wife? To what extent was she unaware of how bad this had gotten?
Right. The extent that she was unaware was minimal. I didn't hide it very well, and I struggled with anger, and so I would use it as a tool of resentment against her. And but when I was hiding it, especially the infidelity, because the pornography leads to infidelity, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Hiding that made me take on a double life, and that invoked a lot of anxiety. And so I was living with a plethora of anxiety while convincing myself that I wasn't an anxious person. As soon as I removed it from my life, and it was very difficult, it started to become a lot easier, and things started becoming a lot clearer. And then I decided I need to seek God. I need guidance, especially the 12-step program.
Were you Catholic originally? I mean, were you raised Catholic, baptized, confirmed, etc.?
Right. I was raised Catholic. I was baptized. I went to the Catholic Church with my mother. I'm Latino, so it was deeply rooted in our culture. I turned away from it probably my teenage years. No one forced me, so I didn't go.
And once you stop praying and once you stop staying plugged in to God, things start to crumble, as you saw.
Right, that's true. As soon as you think you can take life into your own hands and do things on your own accord, you immediately start downward spiraling, because what I've realized is everything that we do, we can't control. I mean, we can control the few things in front of us, but we can't control the weather. We can't control the happenstance. We can't control who we bump into, how someone else feels, and how they're going to do something that impacts our lives, but God can. God has already ordained these things. And I'm learning that as I put my life in God's hands and I say, God, guide me. Let the Holy Spirit go through me and guide my hand, because this is your will. This is not my will. That one thing right there is what changed everything for me.
This is fascinating and very helpful. I'm sure a lot of people listening right now, Alex, are taking notes from what you're saying. While you were in this howling wilderness of drug addiction and sex addiction, where in the midst of all that did you encounter Relevant Radio? How did that happen, and what happened when you started listening?
Right, great question. My wife had asked me about my pornography use. I lied about the frequency. Later on, she asked me if I would quit watching it because she considered it infidelity. Mind you, we'd already gotten through infidelity, and I hadn't been had engaged in that in a couple years. And I told her I would quit pornography, and I did for about a month or two, but then it seeped back in. Eventually, she found that out through my web history, and she gave me an ultimatum and say, either me and the kids or you and your pornography. And it was a no-brainer, her and the kids, obviously. So I joined the Sex Addicts Anonymous group in Austin, Texas, and I started going every day for a week, found one that I liked, started going to that once a week, and started the step work. But what really made me come to God and come to Relevant Radio was I realized the external sources around me were too great. Social media, I cut out Facebook, I cut out Instagram, I cut out YouTube Reels, I cut out Snapchat Reels.
Smart
and I realized FM radio is another external source. I cut out FM radio, switched to AM radio, and just started scrolling where I found 970 AM in Austin, Texas, Relevant Radio. You came on the radio and you said some things that I can't remember exactly, but it struck a chord with me, and I started listening. My coworkers at work, because I'm a fleet manager, I have multiple trucks. Every time they hop in, they always complain that I have nothing but AM stations on that radio and listen to the gospel. But it was excluding external sources down to FM radio that switched me to AM radio, where I found you guys. And God's been speaking to me ever since. And then I decided to pick up the Bible, which I'm reading digitally. It's really perplexing, the first 4 books of the Bible.
You know, just as a thought, I wish we could talk for hours, Alex, because you have so much to say, and I'm really glad that you called today. I can't tell you how much good you're doing for people listening right now. But thank you, first of all, and hang in there, and know that we at Relevant Radio are going to be praying for you in a special way, you and your wife and your children, and for sobriety in both of these areas where you've experienced such terrible addiction. We're going to pray that you'll have endless victories in Jesus over these addictions. And I really, really, really appreciate you calling in today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Like what you just heard? share it with your family and friends. And thanks for listening.